If God created Satan perfect, where did evil come from? How could something so pure and untouchable transform into the ultimate symbol of corruption and destruction we know today? These questions have puzzled theologians, scholars, and people of faith for millennia, and that's exactly what we'll dive into in today's video. Lucifer wasn't just another angel. He was created perfect, full of wisdom, beauty, and splendor. He dwelled in the very presence of God, surrounded by the infinite glory of the Creator. But something happened. Something changed. What could have caused such a pure creation to veer toward the path of evil? And the answer to this may surprise you. This story isn't merely about an angelic being who went astray. It also reflects something much greater, a profound lesson about the nature of evil, pride, and downfall. But before we delve into what led to Lucifer's rebellion, we need to understand why this matters. Understanding how evil entered the world helps us grasp the ongoing struggle we face even today. It's a story that goes beyond Lucifer. It's about us, our choices, and our role in this grand divine plan. Now that you know the initial context, let's uncover the origin of evil. How could something created in perfection become corrupted? Stay with me as we explore the details of the fall that forever altered the course of history. The creation of Satan. Before his fall, Satan, initially known as Lucifer, was a perfect creation. But how did this happen? How did a being created by God become the prince of darkness? To understand this transformation, we must return to the beginning, to the moment when everything was created. Let's reflect on this together. God, in his infinite wisdom, created all things, including Satan, through his Son, Jesus Christ. As written in John 1 verses 1 to 3, through him all things were made. Without him nothing was made that has been made. This includes Satan himself, who, before his fall, was a perfect divine creation endowed with great wisdom and beauty. Lucifer, at the time of his creation, was unlike any other being. Filled with wisdom, radiance, and light, he held a position of great honor in heaven. He was perfect, a celestial being whose purpose was to glorify God, reflecting his glory to the entire universe. His wisdom was unparalleled, and his beauty inspired admiration from all who beheld him. At first, Lucifer was not an evil being. His perfection directly mirrored the perfection of God. He was an angel of light, not just in his physical brilliance, but also in his spiritual essence. In his exalted position, Lucifer had a unique responsibility to bring honor and glory to the Creator, leading the other angels in divine worship. Every aspect of Lucifer reflected God's perfection. His beauty was unmatched, and his wisdom seemed limitless. Undoubtedly, he was one of God's most magnificent creations, designed to bring praise and honor to the Creator. But as we've seen, perfection does not guarantee stability. The same Lucifer, created to glorify God, would ultimately stray by choosing his own path. However, like all perfect creations, Lucifer was also given free will. He was created to worship and serve God, yet somehow, he began to desire more than the purpose for which he was made. Pride, the very seed of his eventual downfall, quietly took root in his heart. And this small seed would ultimately lead to his rebellion against the very God who had created him. But how exactly did Lucifer arrive at the decision to rebel against God? How did he go from being a perfect creation to someone who would one day seek to usurp God's own throne? Let's delve deeper into this transformation. Now that we understand Lucifer's perfect creation, his wisdom and beauty, let's explore what led this sublime being to his downfall. Pride and the origin of evil. In Isaiah 14 verses 12 to 15, we encounter a haunting question. How have you fallen from heaven, O morning star? This powerful imagery portrays an abrupt fall, but it wasn't merely a physical one. It was a fall of spirit, driven by boundless ambition. Before his fall, Satan, or Lucifer, was a perfect angel, full of wisdom and beauty. He held a privileged position, close to God, surrounded by the celestial glory of heaven. Yet, what seemed like perfection was about to be corrupted by a deep desire, the desire to become more than he was created to be. Isaiah unveils his ambitions. He sought to ascend to the heavens, to raise his throne above the stars, that is, above the other angels, and to become equal to God himself. Satan wanted something more, to be like the Most High, challenging divine order and seeking to usurp God's place. In Ezekiel 28 verse 17, we find an essential clue to understanding what truly happened. Your heart became proud on account of your beauty. It was his beauty and perfection that fed his pride. He began to believe he deserved more than his celestial role. Vanity consumed his heart, and the desire to surpass even God himself took root. This pride, this unmeasured ambition, was the catalyst for Satan's fall. He wanted to be more, to be equal to God. But in his vanity, he failed to realize that his craving for power and control would sever him from divine perfection. The pride that Satan nurtured led to his destruction. He fell from heaven and was banished from his place of honor because he sought to steal the glory that belongs solely to God. What he failed to grasp is that true greatness is not found in elevating oneself above others, but in living in humility and service. This is the origin of evil. Pride, the root of all things that oppose God, was what corrupted Satan. And this lesson reverberates through the ages. Pride can separate us from what is pure and true. But how did this war end? What happened to Lucifer and his followers? And how was heaven restored after such rebellion? The fall of Lucifer. Then came the inevitable moment. The rebellion came to an end. The heavens shone with brilliance once again, but Lucifer, the angel who aspired to be like God, no longer belonged to that holy place. The battle was over. Michael and his angels triumphed, and Lucifer was defeated. He, who once considered himself invincible, saw his glory crumble. There was no longer any room in heaven for rebellion. And so Lucifer fell. Isaiah 14 declares, "How you have fallen from heaven, O morning star, son of the dawn." His descent marked the beginning of a new era, not as the bearer of light, but as a symbol of darkness. The one created to shine in the heights now found his dwelling in the shadows. He was no longer alone. A third of heaven's angels followed him. But what seemed like a definitive defeat was, for him, merely the beginning of a new strategy. Earth was now his stage. In the abyss, Lucifer made a bold declaration. If he could not rule heaven, he would dominate earth. The story was just beginning. He planned his revenge against God's creation. But how would Lucifer seek his revenge? What role would he play in humanity's destiny? Let's now uncover his plan and the impact of his presence on earth, from the beginning to today. Lucifer's influence on earth. Cast down to earth, Lucifer did not arrive alone. His hatred and thirst for power became his weapons, and earth became the battlefield for his revenge. But how did the fallen angel begin to weave his schemes in the world of men? Lucifer knew he couldn't directly attack the Creator, so he turned his attention to the masterpiece of God's creation, humanity. Adam and Eve were perfect but also free. And in their freedom, Lucifer saw his opportunity. He didn't approach with brute force, but with subtlety. Disguised as a serpent, he used sweet words to sow doubt. He knew the key to destabilizing creation was to offer humanity the same temptation that led to his downfall, the desire to be like God. With one simple question, did God really say? He planted the seed of doubt. Eve, like every human being, began to ponder, question, desire. Lucifer had succeeded. He didn't need to impose anything, only to offer a choice. And so, with a single act, God's perfect world was shattered. Sin entered the human heart, bringing with it the separation between man and Creator. Lucifer's plan was in motion, but the full impact of his influence was only beginning to unfold. Yet, what seemed like a victory for Lucifer carried an unforeseen twist. God already had a plan to redeem humanity. But what was this plan? And what would follow in the spiritual battle that spans the ages? Important lessons about pride. Pride. Sometimes, it creeps in subtly, like a tiny seed planted in our hearts. But as we've seen in the story of Satan, that seed can grow and lead to devastating consequences. Jesus understood this well and warned us about it. The question is, are we truly aware of the dangers of pride? In Luke 10, verse 18, Jesus declared, "I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven." These words are not just a recounting of past events, but a caution about the destructive power of pride. Satan's pride led to his fall, and Jesus wanted his disciples, and us, to take heed of this truth. Jesus wasn't just speaking of Satan's fall, but also highlighting how pride can trigger a spiritual downfall. Pride often begins with a distorted self-image, much like what happened with Satan, and it can cause even the most righteous to stumble. Pride starts with a flawed perception of who we are. When we elevate ourselves above others, believing our importance surpasses what it truly is, we stray from genuine humility. Just as Satan fell, so can we. But there's another way to live. In Luke 10, right after Jesus' warning about Satan, we see his disciples on a mission. They were spreading his word with humility and service. Jesus calls us to do the same, to live not for self-glorification, but to serve others. True humility begins with acknowledging our dependence on God. Through prayer, we surrender our pride, admitting that without him, we are nothing. Only when we embrace our fragility and limitations can we be free from the temptation to exalt ourselves. Pride blinds us, leads us to stumble, just as it did with Satan. But the antidote to pride lies in humility. Not a false humility, but a genuine surrender to God, trusting in his greatness instead of our own. What could await us if we truly understand this? The journey to spiritual transformation is only just beginning. Satan's final destiny. Every journey has an endpoint, and Satan's is no exception. But what is the fate of one who rebelled against God, spread evil, and sought to corrupt human hearts? Satan's final judgment is already sealed, and as we'll see, it draws ever closer. In Matthew 25, verse 41, Jesus delivers a sobering message about the ultimate fate of those who choose evil. Then he will say to those on his left, "Depart from me, you who are cursed, into the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels." This is Satan's sentence, the culmination of his journey of destruction and deception. In the eternal fire, Satan will meet his final end, far from God's presence, engulfed in the darkness he chose for himself. But why would God allow evil to exist? Why permit Satan to wield his power for so long? Throughout history, many have asked, why does God allow evil? The answer might lie in the necessity of free will. To fully grasp God's love and justice, freedom of choice had to exist. Evil, represented by Satan, is not a divine failure, but a consequence of free will. Evil, like Satan, was never part of God's original plan, but emerged from wrong choices. The freedom God gave us, the freedom to choose between good and evil, is what makes our obedience genuine. However, that freedom also carries its consequences. Though Satan rebelled, his fate is sealed. God, in his sovereignty, allows evil to persist for a time, but in the end his victory will be absolute. The final judgment will come, and evil will be eradicated forever. This is Satan's ultimate destiny. But what does this mean for us as humans? God's purpose in allowing evil and granting us free will also calls us to responsibility. Freedom, as we've seen, is a powerful gift, but we must choose wisely how to use it. Satan's journey may be nearing its end, but ours continues. How will we choose to live our freedom? The answer is more significant than we may realize. We've reached the end of this video, where we've delved into Satan's fall, the lessons we can learn from his rebellion, and the final judgment awaiting all who choose evil. But what can we take into our lives here and now from everything we've explored? Reflecting on all we've discussed, we see that Satan, created perfect, made a disastrous choice, the choice of pride and rebellion against God. By allowing evil, God gave us the power to choose. But as we've seen, pride and self-sufficiency led to the downfall of a perfect being. In the end, evil will be defeated, but we, as humans, must learn from that fall. The main lesson Satan's fall teaches us is the importance of humility. Pride, which led to his rebellion, is the same force that can draw us away from God. When we begin to see ourselves as superior, trusting more in ourselves than in God, we risk losing our way. We can learn from Lucifer just how dangerous it is to forget that all we have and all we are comes from God. True victory is not found in defeating others or achieving great personal success. It lies in recognizing our complete dependence on God, living with humility, and seeking His guidance at every step. God offers us the wisdom, love, and grace we need to live within His will. Just as a tree depends on the soil to thrive, we must rely on God. He is our strength, our protection, and our true source of life. As we continue on our journey, may we remember that true wisdom comes from recognizing our fragility and total dependence on Him. As we conclude this reflection, I invite you to look at your life and consider the power of humility. What can you learn from Satan's fall? How can you apply these lessons to your daily life? May we walk the path of truth, grace, and total reliance on God. If this video has touched your heart, if you feel there's more to learn about the power of humility and the spiritual journey, subscribe to this channel now and turn on notifications. Don't miss our upcoming videos, where we'll continue to explore faith and how it can transform our lives. Join us on this journey, and let's grow together in wisdom and faith.